Podcast Network. Indie Pods, The Dark Side.
California has the largest population in the United States and the site of some of the most famous true crime cases in history. But there's more than meets the eye to the crime in California. Join Sean, Jessica, and Charles on the California True Crime Podcast as they cover crime both infamous and overlooked from around our state, while looking at the deeper history that goes beyond beaches and movie stars.
Devil is on his way. Devil is on his way, motherfucker. The devil gonna make you pay. Fall to your knees. Devil is on his way. Fall to your knees. Devil gonna make you pay. Fall to your knees. Devil is on his way.
Hey y'all, welcome back to Mountain Murders. I'm Heather.
And I'm Dylan.
Dylan, we are sad to report this is your last episode with Mountain Murders.
Yes, it's with a heavy heart that we have to make a declaration, right?
Yeah, we've got to tell our listeners, you've been with us for 6+ years, going on 7 years, which is wild. But you've decided that it's time to give up the podcast to fulfill your dream. You have auditioned and accepted a role in a traveling production of The Full Monty.
It's true. It's true. Me and my junk are going on the road.
You are taking your junk on the road. Absolutely. We're going to miss you, Dylan, but I'm so happy that the world gets to see your dick.
Yeah, for many years, my dick's been locally hated. But, it's time to take this abroad.
You want it to be globally hated?
I want to be regionally hated.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I got to keep my goals, keep them realistic.
Okay. So, I don't know. Maybe you can check out Dylan on tour. We'll list a website for those dates and where you can buy tickets.
Yeah.
Sad to see you go, Dylan.
Why do I not believe
You've really contributed so much to the show over the years.
I have.
All this hard work.
I'm saying
your research, your deep dives.
We had to buy 2 chairs.
Reading a book a week.
Right.
It's got to be very demanding.
And, here I am, showing up week after week.
Showing out.
Just
now you're going to be showing it off.
Right.
Live on stage. Happy April Fool's Day.
Yeah, but I think people knew that wasn't real.
Nobody wants to see all that.
No, I like to keep my privates private.
I was going to say, there's no way that would work for you. No. It's not going to happen.
No, the thought of being naked.
Well, I want to see you naked.
Naked in front of a crowd?
Yeah.
No.
Especially if it's like a cold day.
It wouldn't matter.
It wouldn't matter.
I got the stow and go.
All right. Poor little shy guy. Yeah, okay. So happy April Fools.
Yeah. So, and, we hope everybody's having a good start to your April.
No, we don't.
It's
Joke's on you. Yeah, we do. Whee!
It's only going to get better from here. You know what I'm saying? Eventually the fires burn out, metaphorically speaking, right? In the world.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Maybe like a big bird will come along and like piss on all the fires.
Well, I'm just saying when there's no fuel left, the fire's over.
Okay.
Yeah.
Maybe we should make that joke. There's a lot of wildfires burning around. Which, by the way, I saw that they made an arrest in the Table Rock fire in South Carolina. 3 young people, I think they're like 18 and 19 years old, are responsible for setting the fire. And I just have this feeling they're going to get a slap on the wrist. And I don't like that.
Well, and of course I was not making light of the actual wildfires burning in various parts of the country and around us. It's a very serious situation.
Very serious.
Very serious. But we've seen this time and again, in Gatlinburg. Same thing. Couple of knucklehead kids, young people who were found to have started that fire. And, when there's burn bans and there's rules about everything, you have to follow them. You don't get, I'm sorry, I don't think you just get a pass for something like that. If you're 16, 17, 18 years old, you know better. I mean, you really do.
This is coming from a pyromaniac.
Well, this is coming from somebody who loves to have a fire, but just the other day, we couldn't really have a fire because of the conditions, right?
I keep hearing something, and I'm looking over, and the cat is chewing on the welcome mat.
Yeah, she always starts up as soon as we sit down.
She's out of control. Y'all need to give me some advice on this cat. She's something else.
Yeah, but I think they should be held to account, and I think it should be more than a slap on the wrist. I mean, seriously, they should. I mean, I don't know what the penalty should be, but it certainly should be more than just
I really think they should get some jail time out of this. I don't think it should just be like, oh, you get some probation, smack, don't do it again. I mean, you've endangered lives, wasted resources, and burned state park. I mean, come on, this is not okay.
No, it's not okay.
I mean, hundreds of acres, thousands of acres burn. I don't know.
And many men and women have put their lives in jeopardy and their safety in jeopardy fighting this fire.
Yeah, it really bothers me. All right, Dylan, are you ready to get into today's case? We have a lot to talk about, and I think this case is, even though it is a little more than 20 years, more than 20 years old, I think it's still relevant to today.
Yeah, you said you thought this would be obviously a good conversation between us and maybe pique some people's interest, right?
Absolutely. Dylan, are you ready to get into this case?
Let's get started.
All right, Dylan. Christina Long was born in Connecticut on March 17th of 1989 to parents Bruce and Joyce. Now, we're going to talk a little bit about Christina's mom. Joyce had a troubled life. After dropping out of high school, she was abandoned by her parents. What it sounds like to me is that she was a bit of a handful growing up and made this decision to drop out of school and maybe was engaging in things that her parents didn't approve of, and they kind of cut her off.
Oh, wow.
Which she describes it as being abandoned by her parents, but it almost sounds like her parents just kind of cut her off because,
she wouldn't listen. She wouldn't follow the rules.
Well, sometimes, people can be like, oh, that's terrible. But, parents are human beings as well. And we all have feelings and emotions. And sometimes you just get tired of your kids shitting on you.
Well, yeah.
Just like as a child, sometimes you get tired of your parents shitting on you. So it's not, I guess, not so uncommon these days for there to be estrangement between parents and children.
Well, it's a tough situation to be in as a parent, and I don't know what kind of parents they were. Don't know all the details, but if you do have a child, a young adult who is rebelling, doing the, not want to listen to any of the rules, won't take any of your advice, basically won't let you parent. Honestly, that's what you're trying to do. At a certain point, it's like, what do you do?
Well,
what are your options
left?
It
also sounds like, just through my research, Joyce has a sister, Shelley, and Shelley will play a big part in our story today. And they're very much opposites. Shelley is very, intelligent, motivated, employed, tries to do the right thing, very responsible.
Coming from the same household.
Well,
I think that speaks volumes.
Well, Joyce spent much of her life being unmotivated, unemployed, and, quote, difficult to be around. And difficult to be around was a way that, that's how multiple people described her.
That's a hell of a description for other people. I couldn't imagine being like that. And I don't want to be around anyone that is like that.
No, I think we've all known that person who's just a dark cloud of doom and sourpuss and woe's me, and they're always in a bad mood, and they're always somehow the victim of everything all the time.
They suck all the energy out of a room. Everything's about them. I think people like this tend to be narcissists, very self-centered. Just because I've never been like that. Just because I'm having a bad day doesn't mean everybody's got to have it with me.
See, I disagree. When I'm having a bad day, I feel like you have to suffer with me. Because, I mean, we took those vows, like through rich or poor, sickness, health, Heather's being a bitch, so you're going to get bitched at. I mean, you took the vows, bud.
Well, wait a sec. I don't remember that last vow.
You were drunk.
That's not true.
You was drunk. My daddy's shotgun was in your back at the courthouse, so you had to just say yes.
You wish your daddy was at our wedding.
Oh, God, no, I don't, actually. I wanted it to be a joyful day. And he's, quote, difficult to be around, Dylan.
No, he is a difficult, he's
one of those people.
He is one of those people. It's like you can't win with this person.
No.
It's like they don't ever have a good mood.
No, you can do everything right, and then he gets pissed off that you did everything right, and he doesn't have anything to bitch at you about.
I've never in my life
it's like the craziest thing.
seen someone try to micromanage everything around them. And if you go above and beyond to do everything exactly the way they want it, even if it doesn't make sense, that pisses them off too. Because they're literally just want to bitch, piss, and moan.
He doesn't have anything to be mad about, so that makes him mad. Yes.
Gosh.
I mean, you met him. So maybe Joyce and my dad could hang out. So in her early 20s, Joyce married and gave birth to a daughter named Shauna. This marriage, however, did not last, leaving Joyce as a single mother. While working in the hospital, the Danbury Hospital, in the records department, Joyce Merletti met a man named Bruce Long, who happened to be like a maintenance worker at the hospital. I guess sparks flew, Dylan. Joyce and Bruce eventually married. The couple fought constantly it sounds like from day one. Like this was not a marriage made in heaven.
I just don't understand.
This is not a match for Love Island.
Why do you want to be around? Why do you want to do that? It's just such a miserable way to live. You have these couples that are just, everyone around knows. They're hard to be around. They're always fighting. They ruin every good time you try to have. It's always some big drama with them. I just don't.
I think some people like that. I think some people they like drama and they feed off of it. And they like being in these toxic relationships. Like they get some weird sick thrill out of fighting all the time.
It is a sick thrill.
Because I've known people like that. And it's almost like they like it. Like even though they're like, oh, they secretly enjoy. You can see they almost like relish in the drama and the fighting.
Yeah.
Like it gives them something to do with their boring lives, I guess. I don't know. Not for me, bud. I don't want all that.
I have no place in my life for that type of drama.
I want peace and quiet. I want to be very zen. So by the time Christina was 2 years old, the couple had divorced. Bruce was a drinker and Joyce was adulterous. Bruce maintains that, quote, he drank a few beers, but no more than when he had first met Joyce.
I was a drunk when you got with me, bitch.
Yeah.
Right. That's the argument.
I guess. Or maybe he really wasn't. I mean, I don't know. Maybe he wasn't like a hardcore drinker, but she just wanted to fight about you've had a few beers. I don't know. It could go either way, Dylan.
No, I've experienced that before.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well,
It's
no.
horrible. Your wife doesn't want you to drink a 12-pack and fall on the stairs.
Yeah. I mean, it's like, it's my life. You know what I'm saying? If I
Well,
want to fall down the
and
damn
I guess
stairs,
you could tell me that, yeah, you were drunk when I met you because that was true. Yes, that was true.
Look.
So I accept full responsibility for this mistake of marrying you and carrying you for all these years.
It wasn't a mistake.
Are you sure?
It was the best thing that ever happened to me, baby.
Well, yeah. The best thing that ever happened to you.
Hey, look, I'm all cleaned up now.
It's been a hellscape for me.
I'm all cleaned up. I've been fully detailed.
I know. I'm proud of you.
I'm on the front row
The
of
other
the lot.
day, so we were in Michigan, and I mentioned something to you. I'd gone in the grocery store to just grab a few drinks for our little room, you know. And I said, I almost grabbed you a beer because you hadn't had a beer in forever. And I almost grabbed you a beer. And I said, hey, they had a bunch of craft beer in there, singles. And I almost got you a beer. And you were like, I don't even want that.
I don't even want it.
Yeah.
No.
I was so proud of you.
They have dispensaries and
Well, yeah. Well, there's that. But
no, but seriously,
But I've never really known you during this time to turn down a beer. So I have to say I was really proud of you because you were like, I don't even want it.
yeah, but it's it's
You
just
didn't even want the Voodoo Ranger, bud.
it's like I don't think I deserve credit for being normal, right? And I don't want to be one of those addict. I'm an addict. But I will say it's small things that you notice.
What's a little victory for you?
Well, it is. And it's like I told you, every other time we've been on a trip, our whole marriage, I'm out left the, hotel 10, 11 at night, unfamiliar place, trying to find a gas station open to get some cigarettes or beer, blah, this and that. And, and I didn't feel that need.
I know it was like one of our first trips where you that's out looking for those things.
Yeah. And that's kind of lame, really, that I did that all that time. Anyway.
Instead, we were just piled up, dead tired, watching cooking shows.
Yeah, and it was fun.
Napping the whole weekend. Like, we didn't even go anywhere because we were so tired. We were like literally just stayed in the bed the whole time and watched TV and took naps.
Well, and I don't know if anyone's ever suffered through this before, but we had to sneak Rufus into a hotel.
Oh, God. Should we even tell?
Yeah.
Like, we were totally breaking the law of decorum in the hotel world.
We were, but Rufus is a good dog. He doesn't chew things up. He won't use the bathroom. I mean, if you take him out and walk him. I mean, so it wasn't like he was in there wrecking the place. He's 9 pounds.
No, he didn't pee in the floor or anything. He was a good boy.
He was a good boy, but we didn't want him to bark, and we had to keep smuggling him in and out of the hotel like he was a baby. Heather would throw him over her shoulder and cover him with a blanket, which actually worked pretty well.
Because he loves being a baby.
He does.
Loves it.
But he also barks if a leaf falls from a tree. So
we were on edge the whole time, like, we're going to get kicked out.
we were. He was on edge. We were on edge. So, yeah.
Yeah.
We're keeping a low key.
I can't believe we're even admitting this.
And we were staying in the hottest hotel ever known to mankind.
Our listeners know we're trash, so this doesn't surprise them. Yeah, I don't know what was up. That hotel was so fucking hot. The hallways had to be like, I mean, it was like a sauna. From the time I got off the elevator and walked to our room, 30 feet down the hallway, I would be sweating. It was so hot.
If those hallways weren't 80 plus degrees, I'm lying.
It was so hot in there.
I've never seen, I don't understand how the HVAC works in this place. And the ceilings were so low. I mean, I get it. I know what it is. They're cramming as many rooms as they can in the structure, blah, blah, blah. I understand.
Well, look, it was not like the shittiest hotel in the world or like a motel, but it was not it's not a super nice hotel either. I mean, I would say it was a pretty mid hotel, right?
It's one of those places that was clean enough.
You could tell it was probably older and they've remodeled it. You get that with some of the, chain hotels. It was fine. It was fine for our purpose. I mean, we were just there for 2 days. No big deal. And yeah, we hadn't expected to take Rufus and kind of ended up taking him with us at the last minute. And it all worked out. But my God, it was so hot in that place. I've never in my life sweated walking 30 feet to my room. It was like a sauna.
Oh my God. All right, back to the story.
And then poor Rufy.
Don't.
Wasn't allowed to bark. No, he was a good boy. He's looking at me out of the corner of his eye right now thanks, bitch.
He was a good boy, and we made it, and we did not get thrown out.
Yeah, thank you. People are judging us. That's fine.
Now, there's some hotel owners out there. It's people like you son of a bitch.
Yeah. You give me an inch, baby, I'm going to take a mile. Look, I love Rufus, okay? I love him. He's going to sleep in the bed with me. He's going to stay in the motel with me. He's going to do all the things with me. I would let him represent me in court. I would leave all my life insurance to Rufus.
I think he'd make a fine litigator.
Yeah. He's pretty aggressive. I trust him.
He'd be like, that's him objecting.
All right. So Bruce, again, is maintaining that he didn't drink any more or any less than he did when he married Joyce.
Okay.
No more, no less. Shauna, his stepdaughter, said that Bruce divorced her mother, Joyce, because of chronic infidelity. Because Joyce just couldn't keep it in her pants. That thing was running all around, hopping from room to room. Keep it in your pants, Joyce.
Look, if you're going to do, if you can't be monogamous to someone who expects you to be, you need to get out of the relationship.
Yeah.
That's just point, period.
Or find somebody who's cool with that.
Or find someone who, I guess, yeah. I mean, there's another option.
Somebody out there is cool with you spreading it around. It's fine.
Damn. Like some cream cheese?
Yeah, why not? Why not? Why not spread it around like some cream cheese, Dylan?
Damn.
I'm a modern woman. Okay, so Bruce was granted custody of their daughter Christina, also known as Chrissy. Chrissy's life was described by relatives as chaotic. She was kind of shuffled back and forth between mom and dad. Mom lived in a series of shitty apartments. Again, we've got this back and forth kind of custody arrangement thing happening, and neglect. As a 2-year-old, Chrissy was often left with a babysitter who suffered an intellectual disability. So a lot of people felt like she's being left in the care of a person who's maybe not fully capable of taking care of a toddler.
Okay.
According to Bruce, Joyce manipulated the custody situation and alienated him from having any kind of relationship with Chrissy. So basically, Joyce gets, he gets custody, then Joyce takes Chrissy and doesn't allow the child to see or talk to her dad.
The only reason you should do that is if it's unsafe for the child to be around the other parent. That's the only reason. You can't do it because of your emotions or your feelings toward that other parent.
No, it's pretty shitty to do that. Joyce was also known to have anger issues and an explosive temper. Shauna Merletti, Chrissy's half-sister, said the girls never challenged Joyce's authority as they were afraid of her. Shauna said, quote, "She is angry at the world, a very, very bitter woman." While in Joyce's care, Chrissy was essentially neglected. Joyce would say the child could, quote, "take care of herself," even though she's a little kid.
What does that mean?
It was Chrissy's aunt, Shelley, Joyce's sister Shelley, who potty trained the child and took her to the park. Shauna also had to step in to help raise her little sister. When Chrissy started school, she was quickly falling behind. Joyce rarely took her to school. Eventually, Christina fell behind like a whole grade level. Her Aunt Shelley had to help the child get back on grade level by tutoring her, studying with her, like putting in all this time to catch her up.
Well, I kind of agree with Joyce. If the kid would just work harder, pull themselves up by their bootstraps, maybe they could perform a little better in school.
How dare this 6-year-old expect me to give him a ride to school?
Yeah.
Don't you have Uber money?
Damn.
There's a damn bus out there. What, do you want me to get you up and get you ready for school?
What, do you expect me to feed you every night?
You're 5. Yeah, crazy. She was mostly confined to her bedroom when she was at home with Joyce. Joyce spent a lot of time working on her future career dreams, Dylan.
And what would that be?
Karaoke.
Are you serious?
Yeah, and I don't know. I couldn't find a lot of information about this. I don't know if Joyce's dream was to host karaoke or to sing karaoke.
Okay, well, I mean, as far as...
But it sounds like maybe she was into singing and maybe sought out karaoke contests where she could make some money. I'm not really sure.
Okay.
It was vague, so I'm sort of reading into, what was implied here. I'm not 100% sure. Somehow Joyce was involved with karaoke.
So her most favorite thing to do was something involving karaoke.
Dude, I love karaoke too. I don't think I'm going to make a career out of it though, because I can't sing.
No, but I want to go to some of these paid contests.
You do?
Yeah.
Yeah, you could enter. You could sing some Conway. Or some Usher.
No.
What? Your Usher's really good.
It's not.
It is.
I mean, I can't carry it the whole time.
Especially when you start dancing kind of sexy.
Oh, yeah, and the sweat starts dripping.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, like Keith Sweat.
Start taking some clothes off.
Man, I told you the other day, I saw this, and you love Keith Sweat. I saw this video of old-ass Keith Sweat on stage, dry humping the air. And, and he's just old as hell. And at some point, you just got to give it up. Just sit on a little chair up there and sing your heart out. You don't have to be sexy and dry hump the air.
These sexy performers, male and female, you
look
gotta
like
stop.
You're about to throw out a hip.
You gotta stop at a certain age trying to do the sexy thing on stage.
And maybe I'm being ageist, but I don't care. I'm not interested in seeing old ass Keith Sweat like pulling a muscle in his back because he's trying to give me the old pelvic thrust.
I'm glad I want to remember 1990s Keith Sweat.
Yeah,
and that's all I'm going. That's the memory I'm going to carry with me.
You should, because you shouldn't see the other. Now Joyce remarried a third time to a man named Wayne.
Joyce and Wayne.
Yeah.
Okay.
She heard that the karaoke scene in upstate New York was paying more money, so the family relocated there.
Damn.
So again, I don't know what kind of money she's making with the karaoke. But she, her new husband, and the 2 kids hit the road. But less than a year later, Joyce and Wayne were separated. Joyce moved back to Connecticut with her daughters. Now at 16, Shauna married an airman, and they were stationed overseas. By 1999, after 2 years away from the family, Shauna returned to Connecticut to find their living situation was even worse than before. Joyce and Chrissy lived in a tiny apartment that now housed a teenage couple, some karaoke groupies, a 20-year-old man named John, and Joyce's new boyfriend. Joyce was also allegedly addicted to drugs like heroin and abused alcohol. Shauna said Joyce had a steady stream of boyfriends kind of in and out of the girls' lives. Quote, she's always gone from boyfriend to boyfriend. There's never been much stability. Now, with this situation happening, Shelley filed for custody of Chrissy. She had been documenting her sister Joyce's heroin use for 2 years and could see that this kind of lifestyle was taking its toll on Chrissy. The child was, performing badly in school. She's not making it to school. And there are all these strange people hanging around in and out of the house. It's just not a safe situation for a child.
No, there's no way that anything about that is safe for any children.
Joyce didn't bother to show up for the court hearing. Joyce instead packed up and moved to Colorado because her new boyfriend was trying to escape from some drug charges.
And that's a good reason to move right there.
Relatives said Joyce's move out west to live with a boyfriend was emotionally scarring for Chrissy. The child felt abandoned. Their relationship was irreparably damaged. Shauna said, quote, your mom leaving you and not calling you, I think that would be a big heartbreaking moment for anybody. But that's going to be a heartbreaking moment for a child. And she's still a little girl.
Right.
Joyce will later deny any drug use. She insisted to the Daily News that her daughter was kidnapped by Shelley Reeling. In August of 2000, Chrissy moved into Shelley's home in Danbury, Connecticut. The girl spent 6 months in therapy and signed up for voice lessons. Chrissy attended St. Peter Roman Catholic School in Danbury. She was instantly popular, making friends and becoming a cheerleader. Considered a good student, Chrissy was well behaved and had no problems at school. Within a year, Chrissy had been baptized and became an altar girl.
Well, see, that just shows you about the environment and how much of an effect it has on the child.
Well, kids need stability.
And you have a child who's having problems in school, grades, everything's kind of an issue. And then they get in a nice, stable environment, and she's thriving.
Yet, some of Chrissy's friends saw a different side of her. They saw Chrissy was interested in dancing, but some of the girls thought the moves Chrissy studied on MTV were just a little too sexy. Others thought Chrissy was more mature and dressed more provocatively than most of the, quote, good girls at school. Though there were some rumors about Chrissy's past, including her parents' divorce and possible drug use, she didn't tell her friends about life before moving in with Shelley Reeling. One teacher described Chrissy as being, quote, streetwise, and that she seemed to be having some sort of internal battle with herself, kind of between, like, being this sort of streetwise, tough girl, but also kind of wanting to be, like, a good girl and this cheerleader and kind of live up to, I guess, these certain expectations at this private school surrounded by maybe wealthy kids, and she wants to kind of live up to a certain image. So she was kind of battling between, do I be this tough chick or do I kind of fall in line like everybody else?
Wow. I think a lot of us have internal battles of, some sort.
I'm always having an internal dance battle with myself.
All right. You're
Yeah.
serving yourself?
Yeah, sometimes.
Okay.
Yeah, in my head. AOL, America Online, was hugely popular in the U.S. during the early 2000s. It played a key role in getting millions of people on the internet during the early days. AOL provided different features like email and chat rooms. AIM, or Instant Messenger, was a very popular way for people to connect. So think of it, for those young people who were not around back when AOL was a thing, it was kind of like the texting of its time.
Right.
People spent hours crafting away messages and chatting with friends. It really laid the groundwork for how people interact online today. At, I guess, the height of its, popularity, AOL had over 30 million subscribers.
Damn.
Broadband internet became more accessible, and the AOL dial-up service was quickly outdated. But like a lot of teenagers at the time, Chrissy, she had to be online. You had to be on AOL to be cool, right, Dylan?
Well, just being like I was in a chat room.
Yeah.
And people were like, oh, gosh, what were people talking about?
Yeah, I know. I remember the first time I ever went in a chat room, and it was an AOL chat room, and just being like, whoa.
Yeah.
This is so weird and cool. So Chrissy begged Shelly to, for a computer. She wanted her to buy a computer. And Shelly didn't mind that her niece spent a few hours each evening on the internet chatting with her friends. Shelly had worked for IBM, so she was pretty in the know about computers. She'd been a webmaster. And so she's thinking like, okay, this isn't really a big deal. Today's world is very much computer oriented. So it's good for her, a young girl, to get a computer. She can learn early how to use these different programs. It's going to prepare her for life.
Well, and I think a lot of parents are like, what harm? This is before people really realize.
Well, that's the thing, too.
The harms and the dangers. Because you really are. And it took a long time for the public to kind of catch on to the fact that you're literally inviting the world into your home.
Let's be honest, Dylan. There are parents today who still don't seem to wrap their heads around the fact that your child having a phone in their hand opens them up to a lot of danger.
Right. Yeah. And I think that's part of the issues in our society is the younger and younger. I mean, you have 8-year-olds with smartphones. You know what I'm saying? But back then, parents viewed it as almost like a video game. It's here.
Or it was more of like a learning opportunity.
Yeah, and they're at home. They're right there in the den. They're safe. I don't have to worry about they're out with, the wrong kind of kids or anything like that. So what harm can come of that? And I think that's the way a lot of people viewed it, and that led them to, hey, let's get a home computer. But I think also you have to point out for the younger folks, this was typically for the house. This computer was for everyone to use. They were usually in the den, in the kitchen, a little office area, somewhere where everyone had access. It wasn't away in your room with your own personal device, typically.
Not typically, but Chrissy did have her own computer in her bedroom.
Yeah, some super lucky kids had their own computer.
Yes. I mean, I didn't have my own computer until I went to college.
Ah, gosh.
And it was like required to have, you had to have a PC or whatever.
Right.
But that was the first time I ever had my own computer. I mean, we all had to use the family computer, like you said, in the living room.
Yeah, we never had
while your parents were watching TV and looking over their shoulder at you.
We never had a family computer. I didn't have one till I bought one for myself as an adult.
Yeah. Fancy stuff, Dylan. Yeah, only a few friends knew that Chrissy was in her bedroom using the screen name Long Too Hot for You. Along with the slogan, I will do anything at least once, to troll chat rooms looking for adult men.
Damn. See, that's the worst thing. She went straight to the worst thing she could be doing online, honestly.
Now, here's Chrissy, a 6th grader, wanting to meet these men for sex. She listed her marital status as, quote, I might be single, I might not be. Chrissy is said to have published suggestive photographs on websites to entice strangers to meet for sex. Christina created her own website called Sexy Me for You to See.
Okay.
And I don't have a lot of details about that website. I'm not sure how it was set up or anything like that, but she had this website. And I guess at some point her aunt saw something about the sexy and was like, what's that about? And she said, oh, it's from Austin Powers movie.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Friends said they noticed changes in Christina about a year earlier. So starting around 2001, she began wearing makeup and dressing more provocatively. She idolized Britney Spears. So, of course, she was into like the low slung, like hipper jeans.
Britney Spears is still into those.
Somebody needs to free Britney. They need to free her to a stylist.
Somebody
pay. I just want to dress her. I'm like, honey, let me fix you.
She hung on to all those clothes from back in the day.
She looked crazy, and she got them crazy hair extensions that look so bad, and like, I don't know.
Spinning in various houses.
Wearing them ugly-ass white boots. Oh, God. I just can't even. Brittany, let me fix you, honey. I won't even charge you. I'll do it for free. Let me pick you out some outfits. Let's do this. Neighbors said that Chrissy would show up outside to play with other kids, quote, looking much older than 13 years old.
Well, see, that would make me, I guess, nervous would be the right word. If I had my 13-year-old daughters, and some girl shows up, all dolled up and looking way older than 13, like they're trying to look older than 13, that would give me pause, because I think there's problems that can arise from that.
Christina, now this is according to her friends, would often take her top off in front of the boys, like in the neighborhood when they were hanging out after school. Christina's best friend, Tamara Silva, said Christina was bullied and that people didn't like her. Christina had low self-esteem and enjoyed getting online because she could be someone else. Yet others say Christina was well-liked and popular. So I think this just kind of goes to show that maybe like she does maybe have low self-esteem, and even though she has a lot of friends and she is well-liked and popular, she still thinks maybe she's being bullied and that people don't like her.
Well, and that's how low self-esteem works.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's understandable, I guess. Tamara said that Christina would often go topless at these after-school gatherings and would encourage boys to fondle her breasts.
Well, see, I think there's something else at play here, like some kind of a, at the very least, abnormal ideas about
Well,
affection.
These are all some red flags.
Affection and love and all that.
Well, it makes me wonder about her past and growing up with Joyce, this steady stream of boyfriends in and out of the house, this exposure to all kinds of people, maybe not being protected and taken care of. I mean, this almost kind of sounds hypersexual and maybe an indicator that she could have been molested.
Yes.
We don't have that information, but I'm just putting that together. Anyway, it's worrisome behavior, right? This is troubling behavior for a 6th grade girl. One of the boys said, quote, she talked about sex all the time, about how she liked chains and stuff when she did it. I mean, that's
pretty hardcore.
That's a lot for a 13-year-old.
Especially back then.
I remember, like, I didn't even know what a blowjob was until I was around this age. And, I mean, so just hearing about this, I can't imagine being that age and being like, oh, my God, whips and chains, hell yeah.
Right.
You know? Tamaris and the boys said Christina had become obsessed with bondage after watching an MTV show called Sex 2K. Sadly, I missed this show.
I don't remember that.
I don't remember it either. Missed my opportunity to watch Sex 2K. Chrissy liked to hang out at the Temple of Retail, the Danbury Fair Mall, where she would stroll around with friends. They would visit the Gap or Banana Republic, then maybe grab a slice of pizza at the food court. A 21-year-old who worked at Sears Electronics department recalled encounters with Christina. She would show up to the store, flirt with the male employees, and would often flash her thong at the adult men. Christina had even sought out this particular employee's email via the internet. I guess she'd done some kind of search on AOL and found his screen name and started sending him emails and messages. And he rejected Christina's advances. He said he's 21. And he's like, I knew right away she's very young. And I'm not trying to get messed up with, anything like that. I'm not interested. But he said it was, it kind of scared him how aggressive she was. But it was on May 17th of 2002 that Chrissy told her Aunt Shelley that she was meeting a friend at the mall. They were supposed to meet by the carousel. The girls had plans to spend 3 hours shopping. So when Shelley Reeling went to pick Chrissy up that evening, there was no sign of the girl. Shelley quickly contacted the police to file a missing persons report. The mall security department couldn't locate Chrissy. They tried paging her. The mall security conducted a search inside the mall at the various stores, but there was no sign of the girl. By 10:21 p.m., Chrissy was officially reported missing by Danbury police. Police immediately began calling Chrissy's friends for help. They didn't know if maybe she had run away from home, what the deal was. Once Danbury police showed up at Shelley's home to do a search of Chrissy's room, they discovered she had an AOL account. By 6 a.m., AOL granted access to Chrissy's account and allowed Shelley to use the password. Shelley logged on, and they started reading through Chrissy's emails, hoping to learn more about her whereabouts.
By 6 a.m. the next morning?
Yeah.
Wow, that was quick.
It was quick.
It moves more slowly nowadays.
It does. Now, one message read, quote, "Hey, it's Christina. Thought I'd say hi. You wanted to know what I've done during sex. I like it rough and deep. I'm getting all turned on thinking about it." Another message from Chrissy said, quote, "Hey, hon, you can tell your friends we had sex. It's not a big deal. I want you to tell them. You're so cute."
Damn.
Law enforcement learns that 13-year-old Chrissy had plans to meet a 24-year-old Port Chester restaurant worker who went by the screen name Hot ES 3000, which refers to a Lexus model.
Oh, so he's got a hot car.
Chrissy was really into hot cars, by the way. She had posters of quote-unquote hot cars hanging in her room. She would ask her aunt, to go, let's go test drive some flashy car for fun.
And I can see in my head that car models that were popular back then. You had the 300Z.
Dodge Stealth.
A Dodge Stealth.
Or a Dodge Viper.
Or a Viper, stuff like that.
A Mitsubishi Spider.
Oh, yeah.
Was it a Spider?
Yeah. Yeah, there was a Spider.
The Eclipse.
The Eclipse.
Yeah.
All these little sporty looking Need for Speed kind of cars.
Oh, yeah. Now it was discovered that Chrissy had been routinely meeting adult men online for sex after they filtered through her emails.
Now imagine her aunt's reactions to this.
Oh, yeah.
I would be so scared and mad at the same time.
I'm imagining I would just feel sick to my stomach.
Right.
Law enforcement was able to track down a Brazilian man named Saul dos Reis. Dos Reis is an undocumented immigrant who moved to the United States at the age of 10. He was married and living in an apartment with his wife. Dos Reis was known as a gearhead who was always tinkering with his Infiniti G20. He was an average student at Norwalk Community College and worked at Cafe Brazil, which was owned by his mother and stepfather. In Brazil, there had been some accusations of sexual abuse by his adoptive father, who did missionary work. So this guy's got a little family history.
Right.
Dos Reis, his wife Tatiana, was diagnosed at age 19, and this was in 1999, with lymphoma cancer. According to relatives, Dos Reis worked 7 days a week, dropped out of community college, and devoted himself to paying for his wife's treatment. After interviewing him, Dos Reis admitted to, and I'm probably not saying his name correctly, sorry, I took French. Dos Reis admitted to meeting Chrissy for sex on previous occasions. It was on May 10th, while he was online bidding for car parts, that he first received an instant message from Long Too Hot For You, the screen name. They met soon after for the first time. It seems like they met that same day and had sex.
So she, if I'm to understand correctly, she's the one that basically reaches out. seeks these men out.
Yes. She's initiating the sex. She's the one that's being the aggressor. And so I think, and we'll talk about this a little bit more kind of at the end of our episode, Dylan, but, you know, like, I think most of us think of these types of things happening online, and you always imagine some predator grooming these young people.
Right.
But in this case, the young person is actually the one who's actively seeking adults, which makes it a little different.
Well, it's different if she's contacting them, and unfortunately, not everyone has a good head on their shoulders like that 20-year-old worker or employee who realized, hey, this girl's not 18, even if she's telling me she's 18, and he has some scruples or so a morality. But unfortunately, oftentimes that's not the case with these guys that she's making contact with.
On Thursday, May 16th, Shelley had been watching the season finale of ER while Chrissy was upstairs in her bedroom, typing an email to Dos Reyes. She agreed to meet him the following day at the Danbury Fair Mall. Dos Reyes admitted that the pair had met on Friday, May 17th, 2002 in the mall. Earlier, he had been working at Cafe Brazil. He'd gone in around 9 a.m. The working class establishment was mostly known for carryout, but also offered 11 tables for dining in. So it's kind of a really small, like, little local eatery. It was around 6 p.m. that he arrived at the mall to meet Christina. So he'd basically been working all day and left straight from work to go meet her in the mall. Christina's school had been released at 3 p.m. that day, and she took the bus to Peace Street where she lived with her Aunt Shelley. Shelley arrived home just before 4 p.m. Chrissy was on the telephone. Shelley asked her who she was chatting with, and Chrissy said Carlos, who was supposedly like her boyfriend at school. Christina was dressed in black shoes, a black halter top, and a pair of jeans with rhinestones down the sides. She was ready to meet her friend at the mall. She's all decked out. She's got her rhinestone jeans.
Do you remember rhinestone jeans?
Of course. Now, I did not have any rhinestone jeans, but I do remember them. Shelley agreed to drop Chrissy off at 6 p.m. When she dropped her off at the mall, Chrissy even, she went inside and returned to let her aunt know, Hannah's here, all is good.
So it seems totally above board normal for the aunt.
Yeah, when Shelley returned 3 hours later, her niece was missing, as we know. Now, the investigation also showed other emails from Chrissy to a 22-year-old man who lived in Bethel, telling the girl he would wear a condom next time, and he was glad she wasn't pregnant.
Oh, my gosh.
In the email, the man spoke of having sex with Chrissy at her home while her Aunt Shelley was out of the house. A third person had also exchanged emails with Chrissy, offering to take her on a beach trip to New Jersey. When Dos Reyes submitted to a polygraph exam, that's when he admitted to killing Christina during, quote, rough sex. He then drove 35 miles away to Greenwich, Connecticut, to dump her body in a ravine. He also said that he had tossed Chrissy's purse in a dumpster at a gas station. So Dos Reyes was charged with using the internet to entice a minor into sexual activity, as well as 1 count of first-degree manslaughter, 3 counts of sexual assault, and 1 count of risk of injury to a minor. With these charges, his wife Tatiana filed for divorce. He was also charged by the federal government with 2 counts of using the internet to entice a minor and 2 counts of interstate travel to engage in sexual activity with a minor, plus 1 count for using the internet to entice a 15-year-old girl who lived in Prospect during the summer of 1998, and he had sex with this girl.
That's another girl.
Yes.
Wow.
So he's done this before, Dylan. Christina Long's murder brought to the surface the frightening underbelly of sexual practices made easier by the internet. Yet, I don't want to turn Chrissy's life into a cautionary tale. It doesn't serve the dead girl justice, nor does it save a single live girl from Chrissy's fate. Because I think at this point, we know the dangers. We understand, and most of us have probably talked to our kids about it, but yet these things still happen.
Yeah, it's
So-
happening right now online.
Exactly. So, I mean, we can talk about it. We can try to, oh, this can happen to you, but I don't think it does. I don't think it does any good. I'll be honest.
Well, I think they either will or they won't.
Well, there's that, Dylan.
Right. And long before the internet, things like this happened. It was just harder for the young person and the adult to make a connection. Right.
Oh, yeah.
It typically had to happen in person.
Yep.
Right? Somewhere, neighbors, friends.
Well,
whatever.
I remember at this age being absolutely shocked and terrified when there were other girls my age having sex and like meeting adult men. I mean, I remember the place to go when I was 13 was the skating rink. You were really cool. Friday night, you go to the skating rink, or Saturday, your parents drop you off.
Right.
You skate for a couple hours. They pick you up.
Eat some
You
nachos.
get some freedom. Yeah. You couple skate with somebody. It's like super scandalous. Okay. You want to couple skate to some Aerosmith with me? But I remember girls in my class, meeting like 19 and 20-year-old men and like leaving with them and going in the parking lot and having sex and drinking and smoking. And I mean, I know I was very sheltered, but me and my little friend group, we were all just like, what?
Well, no, that was
Like,
a big.
Whoa.
That was a much bigger deal, and that's one, I think, downside of the internet is these kids nowadays get access to all this stuff, including porn, and just
At very young ages.
at such a young age, and it's happening at epidemic proportions. I mean, I don't want to, I'm not an old, old fudder-dudder or anything like that, but I think you can see that the implications of that. You can see how it's affecting our children. And when I was younger,
a big company like Pornhub would rather cut off access to your state than to make someone submit their ID to prove their age, and they're saying that violates somebody's First Amendment right, that just shows me that you're not really interested in protecting kids and that you want kids to have access to porn.
Or you don't care if kids having access, you don't care either way. It's just that generates more revenue for you. Or
I think it's
somehow.
just,
I don't even know.
I think that's fucked up and disgusting.
I don't even
I'm
know
sorry.
how porn makes any money. There's so much free porn nowadays. But it really, and porn's been an issue in society for long before the internet as well. And obviously it just makes it easier, more commonplace. But, and I think it really does, especially if you're exposed to a lot. And like porn's different. You know what I'm saying? Like you really had to, I don't even remember fetish porn when I was young. You know what I mean?
Well, no, I remember back in the day, and yes, I know we're old as hell, but back in the day, like if you found somebody's Playboy,
Yeah.
like magazine, that was like, whoa, right? That was like a huge fucking deal. And if it was something like Penthouse or Hustler, which was even more hardcore, if you will,
Yeah.
that was like super shocking. And then you might have an older brother or a cousin or an uncle or somebody who had a porno that maybe you could steal and pop in the VHS. And it was like, bam, chicka, wow, wow.
Yeah, and it's all fuzzy and stuff because the VHS about wore out.
Yeah, and it had
But
like,
it was very straightforward.
like Ginger Lynn with her big bush or something,
Yeah.
right? I mean, super straightforward, missionary sex, like whatever. And now it's just like
In 2 seconds.
these clowns are swinging from this contraption. Somebody's having sex with a rubber chicken.
No, and
I mean, it's just too much.
well, in the way that the porn industry just chews up and spits out these male and female actors and actresses, it's pretty hardcore. But it's like I think I remember maybe Real Sex on HBO.
Oh, yeah.
One of the first times I kind of got exposed to some people's ideas and fetishes.
Dude, I know. That
And
was
it
like
was-
the show that really
It was
introduced me to a variety of things, I will say.
it was racy.
It was very racy.
And
Taxi Cab Confessions.
Yeah.
That was the other like late night HBO show. And we didn't have HBO at home, but like I think my grandma did. So if I'd spend the night at her house, she would go to bed early and I would stay up late watching TV and I'd be like, no one's around. Boom, chicka, wow, wow. Real sex.
yeah, it wasn't on demand either. You had to catch it at a certain
Yeah.
time.
It was
right?
like 11 p.m. on Saturday night or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's just And now let's talk a little bit, discuss what, I don't want to end your story abruptly or anything, but I think you wanted to talk a little bit more about, it's kind of a tricky conversation when you talk about these young people, and it's so dangerous what they're doing. What are your real feelings on when you have these aggressive, when I was young, they would call them these fast girls and boys, these young people who seek out seeking out adults, and I mean, for lack of better words. What do you think? I mean, it's tricky. I don't want to. I know they're kids, and I know their judgment and decision-making skills are limited. But at the same time, when I was that age, I kind of knew better on some of these things. And I knew that if I did this, it could lead to that. I mean, I kind of wonder.
Well,
when
with
you
a
have someone
story like this, and actually, Dylan, it's interesting that you bring that up right now, because my next paragraph here, let me read this to you, and then let's hold that thought.
Okay.
Now, there's a perception that only adults are looking for sexual activity online. Detective James Held of NYPD's Sexual Exploitation of Children Squad said, quote, "Children are doing the same, and it is more prevalent than people think. That there are children online, minors, actively seeking sexual relationships."
Right.
And with adults. And there was proof that Christina had told men she was 18 years old. And most of them, in the digital paper trail shows, the digital trail shows that Christina made first contact by messaging the adult men. So these were not men who were grooming this young girl. These were men online doing whatever, playing a game, bidding on car parts. And then she's the one that is just reaching out to various men in chat rooms and based on their screen names.
And it sounds like she's very quickly turning the conversation towards sexual things.
She had 12 different screen names, which varied, as the police described, in, quote, sexual nature. So, like, the screen names all kind of were risque or sexually suggestive. Christina also had sexually explicit photos of herself saved on the computer, and she would send these often to men online. However, I mean, we know that Christina didn't deserve to die. She was a child, and in the grand scheme of things, though she was consenting, I mean, Christina was not an adult. But I do think you bring up an interesting point here, Dylan, because it is tricky, and we don't want to victim blame this child.
No.
But it's hard to ignore that she was the aggressor, and she's putting herself into this very high-risk situation, obviously not realizing the consequences, which is understandable. She's a kid.
Right,
Her
and she's not the
brain's
first
not
kid
developed.
to
I
do
mean,
that. Yeah.
Kids make bad choices. Kids do risky things. They have, little impulse control. I mean, this is all part of, the immaturity of children, right? But I think it's tricky because, let's say these men really did think she was 18. And when she's, dolled up and she's 5'3" and she weighs 125 pounds and she's fully developed, and decked out and maybe wearing
physically fully developed.
Right. I'm saying, physically, looking, projecting an image of being an adult, dressing, in an adult manner, maybe behaving in a way that most people don't associate this with a young girl, a child, a sixth grader. And they think she's 18, they have sex with her, then they're going to go to jail. But I'm like, but if they really didn't know she was a child and thought she was 18, I mean, I don't know. It's real tricky, right? I mean, I feel like that's a bit of a gray area.
Well, it is. And
because, we are very much so against predators and think that these kinds of creeps need to go to prison.
Yeah. And you can say, well, and I've, when I was a younger guy, I'd run across this before myself, a girl who's trying to hang out with older kids or something, and she's obviously younger than what she's acting like or saying she is. But you could say, well, the guy should know, but some guys not going to know, and that doesn't even mean they're being a malicious or
Well, I mean, I'll be honest.
guy.
I'm an adult woman, and there have been times that I would have thought I've seen young women, young girls, and I honestly wouldn't be able to tell you like their age. I mean, I would take my daughter and drop her off. I'd be in the school line, dropping her off at school, high school, and I would see girls walk through the parking lot that are in high school, and I'd be thinking, she don't look like a high schooler, you know? I mean, she's all that. I mean, and girls today definitely look different. I mean, when I was 12, it was obvious I was 12, you know what I mean?
Right.
With my braces and like my stupid clothes. But, you know, young people today have so much style. They know how to do their makeup really well. They dress immaculately. Have the hair done, nails. I mean, I don't know. Like I said, it's just tricky, and we're probably rambling a little bit here, but I mean, I don't know what the answer is, Dylan.
Well, it's a tricky conversation, honestly, and we don't want to come off, like you said, victim blaming or anything like that. But I think if you have a situation where a young person, a boy or girl, or whoever, lies to someone and getting into adult situations, either to give them, substances or alcohol or have sex, the real question is, should they have consequences, real consequences of their actions? You know, that the adult can go to jail, and get in legal trouble, have to maybe register as a sex offender and all that. Should the juvenile have some type of consequence for having, done these things? Is it any less? I mean, if they go out and, spray paint cars or something, yeah, they're a dumb kid, but they have consequences from that, right? You can get sent to juvenile hall for destruction of property, So I mean, and that's I've always wondered about that.
Yeah, but when it comes to sex, that doesn't seem to be the case, and it almost feels like it's like taboo to talk about,
right?
And like somebody's probably going to send us an email and tell us we're like fucking horrible people. How dare you? You know what I mean? But I don't know. I mean, I think it's, like I said, it's really tricky, and I do kind of wonder, with some of this, how it would work out in court. Like, are you going to go to jail? I mean, obviously you're going to go to jail. You had sex with a kid, but if you really didn't know this person was 18 and they lied to you,
and you believed them,
then I'm like, is that necessarily fair? I mean, I don't know. I'm not a judge, thankfully.
But I was also thinking about today. I was listening to this. I think
you were thinking today. Gosh,
kinda. I was listening to a Dateline. I'll just throw like the Dateline channel on Sirius,
don't hurt yourself with all that thinking.
And it was these two registered sex offenders. It turned, they had multiple prostitutes go missing in this area, and they realized that as two sex offenders have kind of teamed up, and at one point during this, actually comes out in the data, they are both wearing ankle monitors, and we all know about how they look at
don't
that.
Monitor those.
They don't. It's not active monitoring. They'll look at the data after the fact, and whatever. So they team up and they're going around. They're killing these prostitutes, and both of them had been in jail for lewd conduct, exposure, all this deviant shit. And I'm just like, these guys should have never had the opportunity to strike again.
No, absolutely not.
And I think if you rape, molest, shit, I had a couple more in there. Rape, molestation, all that.
Exploit children,
traffic children,
make
all these
child sex abuse materials.
If the driving
force, shit like that.
If the driving force of your crime is sexual in nature or sexual gratification for you, you should be physically castrated. Okay? Well, we might not put you to death off the rip, but there should be I think people would calm down with that shit.
Bring back sex offender penal colonies. Well, I don't know if we ever had a sex offender. I'm pro penal colony. Let's get a penal colony somewhere. Let's put all the sex offenders there. Let's make it somewhere really horrible, like Death Valley
or New York City.
Nah, I think they got. I think they're full. They're full of criminals.
Just
there.
kidding, New York. We love you. Do better.
Okay, Dylan. So let's move on with this, and then we can talk about other things. Okay.
Okay.
So in March of 2003, Sal dos Reis pleaded guilty to manslaughter and sexual assault charges. He entered the plea under the Alford Doctrine. Under the plea deal, he did not admit guilt, but conceded Connecticut State had enough evidence to convict him if the case went to trial. He was sentenced to 30 years in prison.
To this day, that plea is controversial. Still argued against and for.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, as a result of Christina's murder, there was a push in Congress for the law President Bush signed to create .com, or I guess it's called .kids, which is an internet domain, supposedly, making browsing and stuff safe for kids. Shelley, who had worked as a webmaster, thought she was keeping up with her niece's online activities. She actually started telling her story on behalf of iSafe America, an internet safety foundation. Shelley often spoke on grooming, which is something that parents didn't really understand 20 years ago. So she's been an advocate and has worked really hard to keep Christina's story out there and to help educate parents and kids about the dangers of, internet. According to Shelley, Joyce Owens did not show up for Chrissy's funeral, and it's hard to keep up with Joyce's name because she's been married like 60 times. So every time I say her name and it's different, that's because she's been married to a different person at that time. So now she's Joyce Owens, I suppose. And anyway, she didn't show up for her daughter's funeral. 200 people gathered at St. Peter's Roman Catholic Church for the service. The eulogy was given by Reverend Albert Audette, who warned against judging the victim. He said, quote, "Though we can judge the evil of what happened, let's not judge Christina or her family." Joyce spoke to the Daily News, saying that she only learned her daughter had been murdered after stumbling upon a news report about the funeral. Owens said of her sister Shelley, quote, "She let my daughter run amok. She wasn't watching her well enough."
See, coming from someone like Joyce, that's ridiculous. And the fact you didn't know is because you weren't in contact with your daughter, right?
Trying to make sense of what happened and Christina's motivations, her sister Shauna Merletti said, quote, "I think a very big part of her was really empty. I think she got let down, that in a sense, and my mom got up and left her for a guy." The notion that Christina was responsible for her death angers her family. Bruce Long, her father, a factory worker, said of his child, quote, "She was just a little girl. She made a bad judgment, and that was because she was so young." Shelley said people try to look for excuses in Christina's background to explain how this could have happened, but she believes this could happen to anyone. She says, quote, "She was happy, very happy, and she knew that she was loved, and yet this still happened to her."
Yeah, and I agree with all that. Now, I want to make sure I'm not blaming her. It was just that's actually a conversation me and you've had on other cases, other stories when we see it, about the responsibility on the youth end. And it's really about keeping themselves safe. At the end of the day, that's what it's truly about. And
well, I think in a lot of cases, I mean, whether, we're talking about Christina or we're talking about, like a sex worker, you're putting yourself, when, certain things, certain actions, you put yourself in you're putting yourself in like a high risk situation where you're engaging in high risk activities.
That doesn't mean you deserve it.
And it doesn't mean that you deserve it, because absolutely these people do not deserve to be victimized. They do not deserve to be murdered. I mean, like I said before, Christina did not deserve this at all. She's a child.
Right.
But, oftentimes we're almost like afraid and we tiptoe around the fact that, no, these people were engaging in high risk activities. And we all know that can lead to,
increased likelihood.
Or it can lead to the, I mean,
Right.
So you have to take that into consideration. And again, like, these people don't deserve what happened to them. But I think you can't ignore the fact that this little girl was online looking for adult men to have sex with her.
God, it's so scary.
It's very scary. It's super concerning. And, I just wish that one of her friends or someone might have known or spoken up, because I think this is a child who needed therapy.
She needed
I think there
therapy.
was something happening with her or had happened to her that maybe, somebody needed to talk to her about it.
She's looking for love in all the wrong places.
According to the numbers, there are an estimated 500,000 online predators active each day. Children between the ages of 12 and 15 are the most vulnerable and the most susceptible to being groomed and manipulated by adults. An estimated 89% of sexual advances directed at children occur in like chat rooms or direct messages.
Right. Yeah. There you go.
Online grooming may be difficult to detect because it occurs often when the child is at home or simply using their phone or computer. But I did look up some signs that a child may be groomed. One of the things they say you can maybe be concerned about if you're a parent is if your children become secretive about their online activity, like if they switch screens or close tabs, if a parent is close, if they hide their phone from you or make kind of an effort to keep it hidden. That's sometimes, I guess, a red flag or a sign that maybe they're doing something inappropriate. If your child suddenly starts using like sexually explicit language, that could be another sign. And they said if your children become emotionally volatile, just sort of out of nowhere, like start having outbursts,
Yeah.
that can be a sign that something has happened or maybe they're being groomed.
That's all true.
Anyway, Dylan, this case made me think of, I have been watching a show. I saw it a few years ago and then realized there was like a season 2 and finished watching that the other day. But it's called Underage Undercover. And
yeah, you've been...
and it's this group. Their whole goal is to like hunt online predators.
Yeah.
It's like nonprofit. And they set up these fake accounts of these seemingly young girls, and they'll create like an online presence with Instagram or Kik or Snapchat.
Well, they sound young. They can even...
they're adult women. They're like 19, 20,
They look
25,
young.
but they look super young.
Right.
And they edit the photos and make these women appear to be much younger. And they go online, and it's crazy. These accounts will go active, and immediately they're flooded with adults, with men saying the grossest shit to someone they think is a 12-year-old girl.
It's disgusting.
So they get these guys, agreeing to meet up, and then they get arrested. So it's a little bit like To Catch a Predator. Not exactly. But I have to say, after watching that last season or whatever, for like a week, I told you, dude, I was like fucked up. Like every time I would go out to the store or the gym, it's like all I can do is look around and think like, how many of these people in this gym or this store are creeps? Because a lot of the men they arrest on this show are just like normal, like men with families and kids.
Seemingly normal.
Well, you would think, yeah. I mean, with normal jobs, like I'm a park ranger or I'm a social worker that has access to children.
So disgusting.
It's super fucked up.
And those people should be shot.
Agreed.
Seriously. And you know that the problem is, at the end of the day, they won't probably catch that much prison time off of having done something that terrible.
No, and many of them are already on a registry, or one guy had like pending charges for sexual misconduct with a minor.
See?
And he was on house arrest and was showing the fake child, the fake 12-year-old, like his ankle monitor on Snapchat and stuff.
Yeah.
And like telling her, well, I got into some trouble, but that doesn't mean we can't be together.
That's what I'm saying. These guys couldn't meet some kid to have sex if they didn't have any balls. Okay? That's where I'm coming from.
Or feet.
Or feet. Or a pulse.
Or hands, because then how they going to roll themselves over? Anyway.
Jesus.
All
Yeah.
right, Dylan. Well, it was nice talking to you. Bye.
Bye. It's nice talking to you, Heather. Thank you for that tough story. That's a tough story. That poor girl. That should have never happened to her.
I agree. I don't know what the answer is, but gosh, just in this day and age, if you aren't monitoring what your kids are doing online, like
that's really hard to do.
It is.
Because if it's not them, then all their friends have devices and access. It's almost impossible.
I mean, it really is. I mean, I don't know what the answer is, but I also know, like, You probably shouldn't let your kids just have
unfettered access to the internet.
Free reign to look up whatever they want and talk to whomever they want.
No, and I mean, you see these things about these YouTube videos. They'll start out as some little simple kid, video, and very quickly go to some dark shit.
Yeah, I've seen those. They're fucked up.
It really is, and all these things posing. I mean, that's what you got to worry from when they're like 3 to 4 and 5 years old. And that's why you can't let these screens raise your kids, man.
You cannot.
You really cannot.
You know what? The air outside is free. Take their ass to the park. Let them frolic. It's going to wear them out. They're going to pass out. They're going to sleep good.
That's right.
And you'll have some quiet time.
It's true.
There's my parenting advice.
All right. So until next time, stay groovy.
Keep it real.
Yeah.
Or whatevs.
Yeah. Keep it really real.
Bye, Dylan.
Bye.